Northampton first team game brings us to another academy day, our second one now. Time flies by. It only seems like yesterday since we had our first academy day last year against Colchester. The format's the same. What we're trying to do is sort of highlight some of the work that the academy players and the academy itself's doing. We're inviting all the age groups that we have, all the way from under 9s up to the under 16s, and ideally we'll get the scholars down after their youth team game. Just to try and show the town itself really how the academy's growing, and sort of the amount of effort and the amount of work that goes into putting sort of 9 and 10 teams out each week against decent opposition on a weekly basis. So yeah, same format as last year. We're trying to get as many parents and friends and family as we can to attend the game, to try and fill the away end and really highlight and show the support and the numbers that we have within the academy now. A year on from last year, a lot's changed again from last year. We're trying to progress all the time as we are as an academy, which obviously the football club itself is trying to do as well off the pitch. It's the first team that gets all the exposure, and that's the obvious things that go on a Saturday afternoon. That's the sort of focal point for what happens at the club. But it's a lot of work that goes on in and around the first team. From the commercial side of things, the events and hospitality, and obviously from my side is the academy. So we're trying to build and we're trying to improve all the time. I think from where we are when we started as a Cat 3 Academy, it's our third year now. I think we're certainly pleased with the amount of progression we've made so far in terms of bringing better players in. My overall aim is always to get more local players out on the first team pitch. It's certainly been, over the last 2 or 3, probably 4 or 5 years now, a lack of local players playing in the first team or in and around the first team squad. So it's probably our joint aim at the club to get more local players in and around the first team. So we're starting to bear fruits now. Because of our recruitment process for the 16s to sort of 17 and 18 year olds, a lot of that has been national based. So even our scholars, now we have 17 out of the 18 are from outside of the area. I think we said this last year that I want to try and turn that into being a lot more local based players if we can. So if we're looking further down the age group, down towards sort of the under 14s, under 15s, now we're starting to get quite a few local kids in there. So hopefully within the next 2 or 3 years, we'll start seeing some more local players progressing into the first team arena, hopefully. Yeah, so other things that we've gone, we've had a lot of work to be done on the facility side of things at the college. We now have an agreement in place with the college for our major facility provider. We now have a good agreement with them. We have an excellent usage package now at the college, exclusive use for our academy training games. So we pretty much run the facility ourselves now. So we're just trying to improve the experience and the sort of the playing and the training experiences that the boys get when they're down at college now. So we're trying to get as professional as we can to build our own facility base up and to make it as good as we can and make the experience as positive as we can for the boys. I think steps now going forward, to say the age groups are pretty much cemented now. We've had them in place for 2 or 3 years. It's now a matter of trying to improve them through our talent ID team is going out and sort of trying to bring in the best local talent and players in and around our catchment area that we can. And I think that's the next step of where we are now. We're established, we're running, and now it's a matter of trying to improve what we have off the pitch as well as on the pitch in terms of our staffing levels. We want to get our coaches better, we want to train them up, we want to try and bring in better coaches, more performance analysis, more sports science. So there's a lot goes into academy football, not just necessarily the games that everyone sees or the parents see on the sidelines on a Sunday. So yes, we're trying to grow all the time. There's commercial activities that we're trying to get more and more into now, sponsorship packages that we have for individual player sponsorship. There's team packages to sponsor age groups, minibus sponsorship. There's lots of things we're trying to push, but with a limited staff and with commercial manager Martin overstretched with the departments, it's tough to try and get it out there. So any events like this that we have that brings some exposure to the academy and sort of showcases what we're doing, hopefully this can try and push it more to the forefront of people's minds in and around the community. And that's probably one of the other aims for us is to build our links into the community. We've been running a good 2 or 3 years now. I still feel we've got a lot of work to do in getting more out of our community links and working better with grassroots clubs and schools and being able to bring and get the better kids in the area into us at an earlier age. So we're still trying to build links and speak to individuals that have sort of knowledge and power in those sort of areas to try and help us out a little bit more. Ways we can do it, we're trying to bring in grassroots clubs to our training sessions and playing them on a regular basis with our academy teams. We're trying to work closely with the coaches at these grassroots clubs to try and sort of put CPD sessions and try and train them up to put their standard of training sessions to be better for their kids that they have at grassroots. And it's all aimed really to try and funnel the best players from the age of 6 and 7 really into our academy, where I still think at the moment we're losing a lot of players to these bigger development centres, your Man United and Everton and even Preston to an extent. So there's still a lot of work to be done. I say we're happy with the progress we're making, but certainly at that younger age group, there's a lot of work to be done to make sure that if a good kid arrives at a grassroots club at 6 and 7, his first port of call is to his local Football League club and not to a development centre for Man United or for Liverpool. So that's our main aim really now is to work through those channels and get more local spotters and more people looking out for the better players and try and feed them into our club. So that's a really big aim for us really now going forward. What else are we up to? I think the youth team is always an important area. It's always supposed to be sort of cream of your academy, your under-18s team. As I say, we brought 17 out of the 18 in from outside the area, which is a great deal of investment from the club for one thing. It's a lot of work putting them into house parents, which we have to thank every year for hosting the boys and looking after them that they do for sort of 40, 42 weeks a year, which is no easy task. And we're trying to get the standards of the youth team raised every year in terms of league position, in terms of professional contracts that we're getting out of the youth team and pushing into the first team squad and making an impact in that sort of area. So yeah, the youth team's getting better and better. The individuals within that group are getting better because that comes onto our second string really of aims and targets for the academy. First is to get players into the first team, and the second is if we're not going to get them into the first team, we want to try and sell them on and bring some revenue into the club. So our first major sale was Leaf Davis that went to Leeds at the end of last season. So the sell-on fees and then sort of the add-ons that are attached to players like Leaf is hopefully what's going to not only self-fund the academy but also to try and bring some more money into the football club in general. So that's a really important part that we're trying to progress. We identify your strivers within the youth team and across the other age groups, and we start to put plans in place either to get them moved on and get transfer money for them or to try and push them on so we see them in the first team. So within the youth team, it's getting to that stage of the season now where we'll have meetings with the first team staff and we'll push on the boys that we think have got a chance of getting pro contracts at the club, and certainly that the first team staff need to look at a little bit closer to either look to try and sign as a pro or maybe those that have got a little bit of interest around them, how do we market them and how do we manage them to get the best sort of value we can for them if we do end up selling them on. So yeah, there's lots of things going on behind the scenes. It's never quite as easy as it looks. I think I said this last year that people say to you, what do you do? I said, I'm academy manager. So is it full time or what else do you have to do? It's a 24/7, 365 days job a year, academy manager nowadays, and the full-time staff. There's something going on literally 7 days a week, whether it's full-time training for the scholars Monday to Friday and they play Saturday mornings. The Sunday games programme's got 8 games running. So there's a lot of work to be done in managing the academy itself and the staff, and it's a lot of work for the full-time staff that are involved as well. So again, I always try and thank the full-time staff whenever I get any sort of opportunity to do so, because it's not the highest paid job in the world, being certainly a part-time academy coach and being a full-time academy staff member. So it's a lot of passion coming from them that they really want to strive and improve our age groups and our academy in general, and they are doing that and achieving that. So again, thanks to the academy staff members, and I think probably for me the final one will be the parents again. I think without the parents' support, running the academy and the games programme would be extremely difficult. I think if we were a Cat 1, Cat 2 club with coaches and transport to get kids to games and plan stuff, it would be ideal, but we rely on parents' support in travelling them to games. So again, for me, thanking parents would be the last one for me.